£500,000. For most people that is a genuinely huge number, the reward for decades of saving. So here's the question that keeps people up at night the moment they stop working: will it actually last? And the honest answer is the most surprising part. The exact same £500,000 can run dry in 16 years, or comfortably outlast a 30-year retirement. Same pot. Wildly different endings. So what decides which one you get? Most people assume it's all down to the markets, or luck, or some clever fund. It isn't. The single biggest factor is something entirely in your control: the rate at which you draw the money out. Get that one number right, and $500,000 can last the rest of your life. In the next few minutes we'll do 3 things. We'll start with the famous 4% rule and what it really promises. We'll watch the same £500,000 drain away at different speeds. And we'll find the one lever almost nobody puts in the maths, that can turn a pot that runs out into one that doesn't. This is general education, not financial advice. Let's get into it. Let's start with the rule of thumb you've probably heard, the 4% rule. It comes from decades of studying real market history, and it works like this. In your first year of retirement, you take 4% of your pot. On £500,000, that's £20,000 for the year. Then every year after, you give yourself a pay rise in line with inflation, so your spending power stays the same. 20,000, then a bit more, keeping pace with the cost of living. The promise behind it is this: drawing at that rate, your money was designed to survive roughly 30 years, even if you had the bad luck to retire right before a market crash. It's not a guarantee, but it's a sensible, battle-tested starting point. Flip the rule around and it becomes a target. If you can live on $20,000 a year from your pot, you need about 25 times that saved, which is exactly $500,000. That's the rule of 25. It's why 500,000 is such a meaningful milestone. At 4%, it throws off around £20,000 a year, potentially for life. But 4% is just one setting on the dial. So what happens when you turn it? Here's the idea that should change how you think about your pot. Picture 3 retirees. Each one has the same £500,000, and each one earns the same steady 3% a year after inflation. The only difference between them is how much they pull out each year. The first draws $20,000 a year, that's the 4% rate. Watch the line. It barely moves for years, the growth almost keeps pace with what she takes. After 40 years, she's still got over £120,000 in the bank. Her money, in effect, lasts a lifetime. The second draws $30,000 a year, 6%. Now the line bends downward. The pot can't grow fast enough to refill what he's spending, and it runs completely dry in about 24 years. The third draws $40,000 a year, 8%. The line falls off a cliff. That pot is gone in 16 years. Retire at 65 drawing $40,000, and you could be completely out of money by 81, with potentially decades of life still ahead. Look at what just happened. Same £500,000. Same returns. One pot lasts forever, one lasts 24 years, one lasts 16. The only thing that changed was the withdrawal rate. That is the dial that decides everything, and it's the one part of this that's entirely in your hands. Now, 2 honest complications, because real life isn't a smooth line. The first, that neat curve assumes your money grows by the same amount every single year. Real markets don't do that. They lurch up 20% one year, down 15% the next. Over a lifetime that roughly averages out. But here's the second, sharper point: when the bad years arrive matters enormously. A market crash in your very first year of retirement is far more damaging than the identical crash 20 years later. Why? Because you're selling investments to live on while prices are down, locking in the losses, and there's less left to recover when markets bounce back. Planners call it sequence of returns risk, and it's the single biggest threat to a new retiree's pot. This is exactly why the 4% rule builds in a cushion. It's set to survive even a terrible run of early luck. And it's why, for a retirement that might last 35 or 40 years, plenty of careful planners aim a little lower, closer to 3 or 3.5%, just to be safe. The takeaway isn't to panic about crashes. It's this: strong returns can stretch your pot, but a bad start can shrink it fast, so the withdrawal rate you choose is your margin of safety. And these are illustrations, not guarantees. Your capital is at risk. So far we've treated your pot as if it's the only money you'll have. For almost everyone, it isn't, and this is the lever that changes the whole picture. The state pension. The full new state pension in the 2026-27 tax year pays around £12,500 a year. It's guaranteed by the government, it rises with inflation, and it's paid for the rest of your life. It's the closest thing most people have to a rock-solid, never-runs-out income. Watch what it does to the maths. Say you want £30,000 a year to live on. Without the state pension, you'd have to pull the entire $30,000 from your pot, that's 6%, and we just saw that runs dry in about 24 years. But you don't. The state pension covers $12,500 of it, so you only need to draw the remaining $17,500 from your pot. That's around 3.5%, and at that rate, the same £500,000 lasts a lifetime. Same pot. Same $30,000 a year in your pocket. One version runs out in your 80s, the other never runs out at all. The only difference is counting the income you'd forgotten you had. And there are more levers in your hands. Trim your spending in the years markets are down. Keep a cash buffer so you're never forced to sell at the bottom. Or simply work a couple of years longer, which shortens the retirement you have to fund and gives the pot more time to grow. None of these need a bigger pot, just a smarter plan. So, how long will £500,000 last? Let's bring it home. It depends almost entirely on one number you control, the rate you draw it down. Take 4%, around $20,000 a year, and history says it can last a lifetime. Take 8%, $40,000 a year, and you could be out of money in 16. Markets help, a bad early run hurts, and the state pension helps an enormous amount, but the dial in your hand is how much you take out. So if you remember one thing, a pension pot isn't a finish line, it's an income engine. The question was never just how big is it. It's how fast are you spending it, and does the income it throws off match the life you actually want? I've built a free calculator that does all of this for you. Put in your pot the income you want each year, tick the box for the state pension, and it shows you the exact age your money would run out, or that it never does. It's linked in the description. Here's my question for the comments. What withdrawal rate are you planning to live on? 3%? 4? More? Or what age are you aiming to retire? Tell me below. I read every one. If this made retirement income finally click, subscribe. One video, one concept, no noise. Next time, how frozen tax thresholds are quietly raising your tax every year, without a single rate going up, the stealth tax called fiscal drag. See you there.